Good evening, everybody. Breaking news out of Germany tonight. At least 9 people have been killed, up to 50 others injured after a truck plowed into a crowded Christmas market in Berlin. German police say the first indications are that this is a terrorist attack. Officials arrested a suspect near the scene. They are investigating whether, in fact, he was driving that truck. A passenger in the truck was killed in the crash. The Berlin attack comes just hours after a terrorist attack in Turkey's capital of Ankara. Russia's ambassador to Turkey was assassinated at an art exhibit by a lone Turkish policeman who shouted, quote, Allahu Akbar, and don't forget Aleppo, don't forget Syria. The attacker was then shot and killed by police. Fox News Middle East and terrorism expert Dr. Waleed Phares joins us in moments just to assess these incidents as details come in from Berlin. Also among my guests tonight, the Secretary of State of Kansas, Chris Kobach. He met with Donald Trump last week to talk about the president-elect's plans to build that wall along our southern border and to bring illegal immigration under control. And this is a momentous day for our president-elect, who officially secured more than the 270 electoral votes necessary to become president, and of course, in so doing, became officially the president-elect. Of 306 electors pledged to vote for Donald Trump, 304 voted for him. Just 2 Texas electors switched their vote to John Kasich and Ron Paul. Calls for Mr. Trump to be voted down by the Electoral College were roundly ignored, no matter the passionate outcry from the left. And today's result, giving Donald Trump the presidency, he will be certified on January 6th. We'll be talking with a Michigan elector who is among those who received death threats from the left, those trying to make him change his vote from Trump to Clinton. The elector, Brian Fairbrother, joins me here in the broadcast. But tonight, our top story, the holiday horror in Berlin, Germany, after a truck plowed into a busy Christmas marketplace, killing at least 9 people. Dozens more were injured. It is the middle of the night in Berlin as residents who are being asked by authorities to remain indoors will be waking up in just a few hours. Police say a suspect believed to be the driver was arrested nearby. A passenger in the truck died in the crash, and according to eyewitnesses, the driver was driving at about 40 miles an hour. He did not slow down as he approached that crowd. According to Fox News, federal prosecutors who handle terrorist cases are now overseeing the investigation in Germany. The president-elect moments ago tweeted this: today, there were terror attacks in Turkey, Switzerland, and Germany, and it is only getting worse. The civilized world must change thinking. Mr. Trump referring to an attack in Zurich in which a gunman opened fire in a Muslim prayer center. 3 people were wounded. And joining me now to discuss these tragedies, Fox News Middle East and terrorism analyst Waleed Phares. Waleed, great to have you with us. Let's start with, if we may, the assassination in Ankara. The Russian ambassador targeted the assailant, the terrorist, yelling out, we will not forget Syria, do not forget Aleppo, Allah Akbar. Your thoughts about this incident and what it may portend in Turkey?
Lou, there are so many dangerous aspects to this assassination, to this killing. Number one, it's the ambassador of Russia. This is a clear-cut attack against Russian diplomats. I hope it's not the beginning of a wave, but also this may trigger Russian reactions. Not may, likely, it's very likely that they will. So now we are seeing that after the fall of Aleppo, there is another kind of confrontation, which is terrorist confrontation on third countries. This was the case of Turkey for a simple reason, is that Turkey has a very large population of refugees, most likely infiltrated by ISIS or other than ISIS. We really don't have a real idea about who the perpetrator took the orders from, but this is very serious. Last point, Lou, what concerns me in terms of vetting, look at how the shooter, how he was dressed. I mean, if we look at the old-fashioned way of detecting jihadists, beard, what have you, behavior, this has changed everything, or a lot of things in the way we vet individuals.
And that he is a policeman, that he had access, that there were apparently, and this is in question, but there were apparently no Russian security officers or agents around him, relying, as diplomats do now worldwide, irrespective of the status of the nation. They depend upon the forces, the security forces of the city, the country in which they are working as a diplomat.
That's true, Lou. It's a very good point you raised. Basically, the first time a diplomat or a target is killed in a situation where there was no preparation is always the first time. Then obviously now there will be measures to protect the Russian diplomats, not just in Turkey, but probably around the world, around the region. The idea that Turkey as a security apparatus was able to protect its foreign diplomats, and it's not just Turkey, it's around the world, has now been hit by this terror act.
And there is a caution in all of this, too, for the President of the United States, who made elliptical remarks last week in his threat to Russia, talking about a proportionate response on the part of the United States at a time and place of our choosing. My God, this leaving open the president for having made such a threat to all sorts of consternation within Russia itself, and it will be used by those who find it convenient to do so.
Yes, if you look at the internet, even a few hours after that murder, you will see even notions coming, of course, from the Russian blogosphere,
sure,
that maybe the U.S. is behind that. Of course, all these attacks or all these innuendos will be made. But what is serious here is that now that Russia is being attacked directly, its own diplomats, by international networks of terrorism, most likely linked to jihadists in this case, and of course we heard him saying what he said in terms of Aleppo. I don't know how we're going to be doing this offensive on Russia because of the cyber attack, alleged cyber attack here, and the Russians are being attacked by the jihadists. So that's going to be a little bit complicated.
And complicated also is the relationship now in Syria. Primarily Sunnis in Turkey make up most of Turkey. The Russians are allied with Shia Iran. This is compounding complexity as each, it seems, week or month passes.
Every player on the ground there is actually moving forward. The Assad regime has seized Aleppo. The Russians are expanding. The Turks have established their own security zone somewhere in the north. The Iranians have linked up through Iraq with the Assad regime. Hezbollah is in. Each one is playing their own card, but the only ones who have not been successful in moving forward, other than our military helping in the northeast, is the U.S. administration. I mean, imagine that Turks and Iranians and Russians are going to be meeting. We're about to meet, actually, this week to discuss the security of Syria, the future of Syria. We're not there.
Yeah, it's terrible. And what is happening now in Europe, Donald Trump tweeting out that civilization has to start thinking anew, paraphrasing him. And what is happening in Europe makes it clear that they have no choice in the matter, as I suspect no one does, against this threat of jihadism and radical Islamists. What is going to happen in Europe, specifically Germany, with this horrendous attack today?
This is a horrible attack, but we can look at what happened before in Nice. This is a replay of the attack in Nice, using trucks. So the whole idea of how to vet potential jihadists, the whole idea of how to prevent, everything has to be rethought, replanned. The penetration of Europe and the penetration of the United States, the issue of migrant, how to vet them, all of this has to be revised. That's why I think President-elect has mentioned the issue of a change of policy.
Is it too late for Europe, Waleed? I mean, we're in a different circumstance. Certainly the dangers are immense. The potential is immense. But we're talking about 1 million people in Germany with Angela Merkel, who is the leading liberal voice in all of the European Union until most recently, inviting hundreds of thousands more refugees into the country, vetted or unvetted.
Every time Western leaders are late or delay the reaction, the price, the bloody price, goes higher. So it's never too late in terms of will Europe survive as a continent. It's the price they're going to have to put because they were not prepared for vetting the population or the demography coming towards them. And more importantly, they didn't have a strategic reaction in Syria. So you're not solving the problem in Syria. You're not solving the problem of the refugees. And your homeland security, both on this side of the Atlantic and the other side of the Atlantic, refuse to actually recognize what's the ideology of the threat. If you combine those three, you're going to have what we had today.
Dr. Waleed Phares, always good to talk with you. Unfortunately, too often in circumstances like these. Waleed, thanks so much.
Thank you, Lou.
We're coming right back with much more. A lot to cover. Stay with us. The president-elect promises to stop illegal immigration and bring criminal illegal immigrants to justice.
I have a message for the drug dealers, the gang members, and the criminal cartels that are terrorizing all of our citizens. Your days are numbered. We're getting you out. We're getting you out.
And Trump insists he will build that wall. The latest reports show border apprehensions are at record highs. America's toughest sheriff, Joe Arpaio, joins us tonight to take up the immigration crisis and border security. Stay with us. We'll be right back with all of that and much more. Report out that reveals at least 820,000 criminal illegal immigrants continue to live in this country after escaping deportation under the Obama administration. This new report from the Center for Immigration Studies says the illegal immigrants have been convicted of heinous crimes, including murder and rape and drug offenses. The president-elect has vowed to deport them.
We are going to bring this terrible crime wave to an immediate end, and it can go quickly. One of the greatest public safety threats remains open borders.
Joining me now is Chris Kobach. He is the Secretary of State from the great state of Kansas. And Chris, it seems, first of all, welcome, and it is great to see you and to know that you are giving counsel to the president-elect on these very important issues. This is a stunning report from CIS, and that is to say that there are that many, and one suspects even more in this country, that with dangerous criminal illegal immigrants among them not being deported. What is the possible explanation for?
Well, you know, you're exactly right, Lou, that it is disturbing. And I can tell you this. Remember when Obama did those illegal executive amnesties in 2012 and 2014? His justification for not deporting millions of illegal aliens was, I'm doing this so I can retarget the resources of Immigration and Customs Enforcement to go after the criminals. Well, in federal court, we had the testimony of ICE agents saying, he's not doing that. We're not deporting more criminals. That's absolutely false. And this latest report shows that those ICE agents were right. The Obama administration is not massively increasing resources, getting rid of criminal aliens in the United States. And that's going to change. I'm very confident that under a Trump administration, you're going to see those criminals being removed in very large numbers.
The Obama administration has largely been a White House built entirely upon lies. Whether it is in foreign policy, whether it is in domestic policy, whether it goes to border security or national security. And that he has managed to the only other expression that comes to mind, to get away with this, is because we have a compliant, complicit national media that won't do their job as watchdogs. Give us a sense, if you will, of how many of all of the resources, and they are immense, controlled by Customs and Border Patrol, are actually at work to stop the penetration of our border by illegal immigrants, drug runners, and human smugglers.
Well, for example, Customs and Border Protection, you know, they are absolutely working, and the numbers of Customs and Border Patrol agents has gone up, and Congress has been pushing those numbers up. But on the other hand, look at Interior Enforcement. ICE agents. those agents are, the morale at ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, is the lowest of any federal agency in the entire federal government. And the reason morale is so low is that they are not being allowed to do the job they signed up to do, which is enforce our laws. They are being forced to sit on their hands, effectively chained to their desk, and these guidelines that have been put on them by the Obama political leadership have not allowed them to get out there and deport people that they used to deport under the Bush administration. And I think under a Trump administration, you're going to see those ICE agents unchained to do the job they want to do. And that alone is going to make a huge difference, because you're talking about thousands of law enforcement officers who will be returned to doing the job they signed up to do. And that's what Americans want them to do.
Right. And of course, the Border Patrol and the Border Patrol Council, the union representing Border Patrol agents, they're acknowledging that they have not been put forward on the border to stop these illegal immigrants, drug runners, whomever they may be. It is still porous, and this is not an adventure that is solely that of the Obama administration. Bush did exactly, as you well know, the same thing, talking about moving 6,000 National Guardsmen and wouldn't get them within 6 miles of the border. The nonsense has to stop, and in one area it really has to stop soon, and it seems like the easiest thing to change, and that is sanctuary cities. Now many of the mayors, of whom the largest, saying they're going to the hell with you, federal government, or the hell with you, president-elect. We're not going to in any way assist in enforcement of the law. What will be the response?
Well, President-elect Trump has promised that the source of federal funds going to the sanctuary cities is going to dry up. But, you know, think about this, Lou. You and I have talked about this issue many times. These sanctuary cities are already illegal under federal law. There's a federal law that many of these cities, they're breaking federal law to create a sanctuary city in their jurisdiction. Well, imagine if you committed an ordinance violation in those cities. Do you think they would give you a break for violating their civil laws? No, they would come down on you like a ton of bricks. So they're so hypocritical. The cities themselves will punish their own residents for breaking their laws that they pass, but the cities will violate federal law. The hypocrisy is outrageous, and the fact that they are willing to endanger their own citizens. I mean, how many people have to die in these sanctuary cities?
I mean, Chicago is a nightmare.
It is. And think about all the cases in San Francisco, Katie Steinle, the Bologna family. The list goes on and on and on of people who have died because of sanctuary policies. And these ridiculous city leaders say, nope, we're going to keep going and we're going to keep breaking federal law. And they don't seem to mention or care about the fact that their own residents who are here legally or are U.S. citizens are suffering at the hands of those illegal aliens.
Well, our president-elect, officially president-elect now, has vowed that he will. That's right. He was the law and order candidate. He will be the law and order president. So one expects that will all change. And do you anticipate being part of the Trump administration to help him get all of that done?
Well, Lou, I'm going to have to dodge your question a little bit. I'm not going to comment specifically on my role, but I can tell you this. You will be the first person I've asked that in this entire year and a half to dodge a question on that. But go ahead, Chris. But I'll tell you this. One thing I am confident of is you're just going to see a 180-degree shift from an administration right now, the Obama administration, which is really engaged in non-enforcement and in violation of our Constitution. Let's remember that Article 2, Section 3 of the Constitution requires the president to faithfully execute the laws, and we have seen orders from this administration telling ICE agents to break the law. And now we're going to see a new president come in who has promised to restore the rule of law, and he's putting great people together on his team, and I've talked to many of them. I am very confident things are going to change and change dramatically.
Chris Kobach, who has been an agent of change himself on these issues over the course of the past decade. Thanks so much. We appreciate it. Chris Kobach, good to see you. Whatever happens, I hope it's what you want. Thank you very much, Chris.
All right.
U.S. officials tell Fox News that China is expected to return that stolen underwater research drone that they took from our Navy tomorrow. The handover expected to occur near the hotly contested Scarborough Shoal in the South China Sea that China claims belongs to it. The drone was stolen there last week. Officials say there are no indications the drone was ever taken off the Chinese Navy ship that took the drone. President-elect Trump, by the way, over the weekend suggested the Chinese just keep the darn thing. He tweeted this: We should tell China that we don't want the drone they stole back. Let them keep it. Be sure to vote in our poll tonight. The question is, do you think it's possible the Democratic Party will ever recover from Barack Obama? Cast your vote on Twitter at Lou Dobbs. Follow me on Twitter at Lou Dobbs. Like me on Facebook. Follow me on Instagram at Lou Dobbs Tonight. And on Wall Street today, stocks moved higher. The Dow up 40 points, the S&P up 4, and the NASDAQ up 20 points. Volume on the big board, light trading. We're talking about 3.2 billion shares. Pick it up, people. This is a rally. Just kidding. Well, I'm not kidding. It is a rally. You don't have to do anything special about it. A French court finding International Monetary Fund chief Christine Lagarde guilty of criminal charges linked to the misuse of public funds while she was France's finance minister 8 years ago. Lagarde, however, will not face punishment or fines. It's the French way. A reminder to listen to my reports 3 times a day, coast to coast on the Salem Radio Network. Up next, the numbers don't lie or even, suggest. Today, the Electoral College added up all the votes. Donald Trump is on his way to the White House. My commentary is next. Well, a few thoughts now on the futile efforts of Dems and the far left desperate to marginalize the president-elect's overwhelming presidential victory. The Democratic Party refusing to come to terms with repeated policy failures on their part, a disintegrating electoral constituency, and collapsing leftist ideological arguments. That's all they've got. The left is in, last gasp protest despite what Trump calls a landslide electoral victory. Trump winning 30 states, gathering 304 of the 538 electoral votes, way beyond the required 270, and now Trump will be certified the 45th president of the United States on January 6th. The left is dwindling in numbers and in influence, but threatening Trump electors all across the country in their desperation. Some of those electors receiving death threats from the left, harassed by countless phone calls and messages from so-called activists ignoring the law and the Electoral College process established in 1787, part of the Constitution, but never mind that, says the left. 30 states in the District of Columbia all have laws requiring their electors to vote for their state's popular vote winner. And in support of the law and order victor in the general election, the electors paid attention to the law today. Only one so-called faithless elector publicly said he would defect. Chris Suffren of Texas voted for John Kasich. Think about that one for a moment. Since 1900, there have been only 9 faithless electors who defected. Trump's victories in the general election and the recounts in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, now in the Electoral College, have combined to shatter the Democratic Party and the left. Their party torn asunder. The Dems have transformed themselves from the loyal opposition to what appears to be stubborn subversion. And that's a serious, serious matter. The Democratic leadership and their candidate lied, cheated, and tried to steal political office and power. And why not? President Obama has governed outside the law for the past 8 years. They thought they could just continue doing the same. But now the left has become a gang of outlaws, trying to wrest power from the presidency of Donald Trump and doing all they can to subvert the will of the people. The fact is, during Mr. Obama's presidency, Democrats lost 63 House seats. They lost 10 Senate seats. The Republican Party controls now both houses of Congress, and we will have Donald Trump in the White House. Republicans have also gained more than 900 seats in state legislatures and 12 governorships. 2/3 of the nation's governors are now Republican. The Democratic Party, the left in this country, have not been so weak, so isolated, so diminished in nearly a full century. The left has been reduced to irrelevancy, and their candidates, whether failed but cheated presidential aspirant Bernie Sanders or DNC chair hopeful Congressman Keith Ellison, they all seem to represent a Democratic Party that has moved farther and farther and farther to the left and farther from any fashion of winning political power. Our quotation of the evening from Ronald Reagan, and he said this, and I think a lot of Democrats tonight may find it resonates. I didn't leave the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party left me by the hundreds of thousands. We're coming right back. Stay with us. The president-elect moments ago tweeted out about his electoral college victory. We did it. Thank you to all of my great supporters. We just officially won the election. Parentheses, despite all of the distorted and inaccurate media. Also, I think he means dishonest or whatever. Expletive deleted. Joining me now, one of the 16 Michigan electors who voted for Donald J. Trump today. He is Brian Fairbrother. Also with us, Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist for the New York Post, Michael Goodwin. Great to have you both here. And Brian, let me start with you. And by the way, congratulations. Another thing, by the way, I've just got to bring attention to this. Donald Trump's tweet may not be remarkable to some, but anyone who has lived through these past 8 years with the current occupant of the White House, who is so used to, as am I, hearing a president use first-person singular repeatedly, unendingly, forever. I just can't tell you how nice it is. Brian, I want to extend a personal thank you to you for voting for a man who's willing to say we and us and our and bring us all in. So congratulations first. And secondly, how did it feel to get there? Because I know you were harassed, you received death threats. How does it feel tonight?
Well, first of all, Lou, thank you very much for having me on the show. I think really what happened today is after a cold, long winter of President Obama's failed liberal policies, America is ready for springtime.
That's poetic. I love it.
Yeah,
now, how does it feel to have resisted all of those death threats and all of the harassment? And frankly, how much of that was there?
Well, we received, my fellow Republican electors and I received tens of thousands of emails, thousands of letters through the United States Postal Service, and hundreds of Facebook requests. And just today, I actually received a Facebook message from an individual saying that they wished my mother would have had an abortion. And things like that are hurtful. Things like that are very hurtful. Luckily, my mother's very pro-life, so I'm good.
Well, and you are a monument to her ideology and philosophy and belief.
Yeah. I try.
Well, you done good. So, as did she. Let's turn to this. I mean, some people were dismissing what was going on with electors like Brian today as harassment from the left. It was so much more than that. I mean, death threats. This is a left that I think means to take on Donald Trump, his White House, in perpetuity.
You're absolutely right, Lou, and I can certainly sympathize with Brian. I mean, that thing about his mother. I mean, I get that stuff all the time from the left. I mean, it's unbelievable the things people will sign their names to and say, you know, I hope your children get cancer. I mean, they say these things and sign their names as though this is a political comment. This is sick, but this is the left. This is the modern left today. And thankfully, it was beaten again today. It was defeated by the Electoral College vote because its aim was to overturn the election. It failed, just as Hillary Clinton failed. They lost again today.
They lost again today, and as I pointed out, for a third time against one man who stood up to take on the status quo, the globalists, those who really, I think, abhor all that is America, frankly. Brian, in Michigan, your state is going through went through a tremendous change and embraced the Republican Party and certainly its candidate. And is it your sense that the Democratic Party is diminishing significantly in Michigan, or is it that the Republicans are in ascension?
Absolutely. The Democratic Party has been losing ground in the state of Michigan for years now. Today, I'm happy to report that the Republicans control the state House, the state Senate, the governor's and Attorney General's office, as well as the Michigan Supreme Court. So Democrats have been losing ground in the state of Michigan for at least the last 5 years.
And that is obviously, as I said, happening across the country. We're looking at a Democratic Party. Michael, they haven't been in this mess for nearly 100 years.
Well, look, and as I said in my column, Lou, it's well deserved.
Your column in the
New York Post.
In the New York Post.
And Fox News. The Clinton-Obama regime, remember, it was supposed to last forever, sort of 1,000 years Reich almost, that
It's also going to be post-racial.
That's right.
It turned out to be post-truth.
Yeah. Obama was going to pass the torch to Clinton. They were going to have the Supreme Court. The regulatory state was going to have free reign. And as it turns out, they had nothing new to say. Her only idea was more of the same failing medicine. And really, their ideas had run their course, and it's clearly time for them to go.
Bill Clinton, Brian said, and I'd like to close with this, because it shows you the depth of incomprehensibility on the part of the left. Bill Clinton said that Donald Trump doesn't know much, but he does know how to, paraphrasing him, how to garner the anger of white men. Brian, with that kind of thinking, that kind of eloquence, the left doesn't have much left to do they?
You know, Donald Trump attracted support from all different groups. It wasn't just men and it wasn't just white people. So that kind of talk is, in my opinion, it's toxic to our political culture.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's toxic to truth and toxic to what America is.
Yeah, it's
you get the
toxic
last word.
To America.
Well, when Bill Clinton said that, he apparently was quite angry himself, and it made me wonder, is he secretly admitting that he voted for Donald Trump? Here he is, another angry white man himself.
You know, when that's the best that Bill Clinton can muster, it's over in my opinion for the Democratic Party. Brian, I'm delighted that you were able to vote, and I'm delighted that you have such an understanding mother, and she done good. Brian Fairbrother, well, thanks for being with us. Michael
Thanks
Goodwin,
for having me, Lou.
You betcha. And come back soon. And Michael Goodwin, you know, you did pretty good today, too.
Oh, not bad.
How about me? How am I doing? I know, it's Monday. I got it. Up next.
Needs improvement.
I vow I will. Well, I shouldn't vow. The president-elect says he's going to crack down on illegal immigration.
We will build a great wall, and we will stop illegal immigration for once and for all.
Build that wall. Sheriff Joe Arpaio joins me next. Don't go anywhere. We're coming right back. Well, joining me now, America's toughest sheriff, Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio. And Joe, it is great to see you. And I just, as we were talking with Chris Kobach earlier in the broadcast, he sounds so hopeful that this administration is going to get it done. Build the wall, control immigration, and deport criminal illegal immigrants. The CIS report today, I know will not come as a surprise at all to you, but for them to even document 812,000 criminal illegal immigrants who have been turned into American society because this administration refused to deport them. I mean, this is appalling.
Well, you know, if you remember, Lou, I went on your show and I said that 12,000 people in my jails were booked for serious crimes and happened to be here illegally. We turned over to ICE, and 39% have come back to the same jails that I run. It's really interesting. The media will not pick up on this. I wrote to the Homeland Security. This is going on 2 years, and nobody will talk about it. Now I'm glad that somebody is talking about it, and something will be done, and I have great confidence. Of course, you know that I supported Donald Trump
from the beginning.
In July of last year, from the beginning, and said he would be the next president. And I'm going to make another prediction.
All right.
He will be one of the greatest presidents this country has ever seen. Just mark my words.
Yeah. Well, let me do this.
History prove that.
I'll slide my money across the table and put it behind your bet. How's that? I think you're exactly right. To begin with, the wall and securing the border and controlling illegal immigration. One of the most interesting things that I've seen in Mexico in some time is the president of Mexico is actually beginning to talk about restoring order, moving troops into the streets of the cities of Mexico, trying to establish at least some form, some limited form of law and order. Does that suggest any reason for optimism that Mexico could become a partner in securing that border, a partner in controlling immigration across that border?
Yeah, you know, I served as the regional director in Mexico City, Latin America. I'm not going to get into that, but I'll tell you one thing. I was very happy when Donald Trump was able to visit the president, go in the back room. I'm sure they probably made a few deals. And I think because Obama and Hillary is leaving, maybe the president of Mexico now has come to his senses and understand that this president, our new president, is not going to take any garbage from Mexico. So they're playing the game. And